This is Dr. Sam Goldlhaber from Brigham and Women's Hospital and Harvard Medical School. I have the privilege of being president of the North American Thrombosis Forum and thought it would be great for our NATF viewership to have an idea of what's going to go on at the upcoming largest cardiology conference in the United States, the American Heart Association Scientific Sessions, which are going to be held shortly in Dallas. And we'll be hearing every day during those sessions headline news in the New York Times and all the major media. But I thought I would zoom in on a couple of trials that have been going on for a long time that are really pivotal studies which will be featured at the AHA meetings. Well, the first one is the largest ever study of stroke prevention in patients with atrial fibrillation. It compares the old standard anticoagulant warfarin with a fascinating new anticoagulant drug called edoxaban, which is a once-a-day drug targeted to clotting factor 10 and working against this clotting factor. Edoxaban has already had tremendous results in a New England Journal of Medicine published trial of patients with deep vein thrombosis and pulmonary embolism. But the upcoming results of the ENGAGE study, as it's called, for stroke prevention, atrial fibrillation, will be the largest ever trial to prevent stroke and atrial fibrillation, with more than 21,000 patients enrolled from about 1,000 sites in many dozens of countries and probably half a dozen continents around the world. And this study is going to tell us whether edoxaban is non-inferior to warfarin or perhaps superior to warfarin, and it's going to also compare the safety of edoxaban to warfarin. Everyone's waiting with bated breath. Edoxaban is a once-a-day medication. It doesn't have too much in the way of renal metabolism, so that's not too much of an issue. And the trial had some very interesting design features, including an ability to adjust the dose upward or downward during the trial in case there was intercurrent illness, and a very clever way of transitioning patients at the end of the study to avoid a spike in the stroke rates, which had been a problem in some of the previous large-scale atrial fibrillation trials. So we are very much looking forward to the results of this trial, and we'll have to stay tuned. The other study that I'd like to highlight is an NIH-sponsored trial called COAG. And COAG looks at pharmacogenetic dosing of warfarin and compares it with standard dosing of warfarin. It's an NIH-sponsored trial on the order of a $10 million study that's been going on for some years now, and we will finally get to see the results. We know that the metabolism of warfarin is very much influenced by our own personal genetic composition. So the idea with COAG is to test a strategy where there is rapid turnaround genetic testing for some of the genes that determine whether warfarin is metabolized at a normal rate, a slow rate, or a rapid rate. So if warfarin is metabolized at a slow rate, then it's going to hang around. You might only require 1 or 2 milligrams of warfarin to become therapeutic. On the other hand, at the other extreme, if warfarin is metabolized for genetic reasons at a very rapid rate, you might need 20 milligrams of warfarin a day in order to maintain a good INR target. And the objective of this COAG trial is to see whether rapid turnaround pharmacogenetic testing with an algorithm that gives you a starting dose of warfarin that is pegged to your genetic profile will lead to more frequently ending up in the targeted therapeutic range for the INR compared with the standard way we've been using warfarin for years, which is starting almost everybody on 5 milligrams a day of warfarin, and after a few days getting an INR, and either adjusting up or downward or leaving the dose the same, a sort of empiric dosing regimen that we've used over time. And we know with this empiric regimen, we can pretty much get the time within the therapeutic range to 60% or greater. And this strategy of standard approach versus pharmacogenetic approach will be compared. At the same time and in the same session, the COAG study is presented, which is an American study. A European study with a very similar design will be presented. So it will also be interesting to see whether the results of the European study agree with the results of the American study, and whether pharmacogenetic testing will make a real difference in terms of getting patients and maintaining them in the therapeutic INR range more often than the way we've done business with warfarin over the past several decades. Well, this is Dr. Sam Goldlhaber, and it's been good talking with you about the upcoming AHA highlights. Thank you very much for watching.